When convict transports like the Cape Packet that brought Boy Piet to Van Diemen's Land sailed across the oceans with their human cargo, they also carried the legal documentation that enabled the labour of these convicts to be transferred from their place of origin to a penal colony. Quite a lot of these documents have since ended up in the archives, but some are either missing altogether or have fallen into private hands. In 2015, this warrant came onto the market, and as Boy Piet was one of the convicts who I'd researched and written about in Aboriginal convicts, I decided to buy it. One of the first things that struck me as really interesting was the sheer size of it. You can see how it was folded multiple times, probably to fit within a large envelope. The warrant was prepared in the Cape Colony, which is now part of South Africa, and was signed by Sir John Wilde. His name might sound familiar to you. Before he was appointed as Chief Justice at the Cape in 1827, Wilde was Deputy Judge Advocate in New South Wales. Befitting an office such as Wilde's, the paper stock on which the warrant was printed is 100% rag, a combination of cotton and lint. Look at how the printed warrant was modified too. Here you can see that New South Wales has been crossed out to indicate that Piet was being transported to Van Diemen's Land. Notice how the warrant is addressed to the sheriff of the colony or his lawful deputy. Using top quality ink, Wilde has filled in the specific details in his own hand.
Whereas Private Boy Piet, number 507 of the Cape Mounted Riflemen, was by a General Court-Martial holden at Grahamstown on the 5th day of July 1842, duly convicted of the crimes of, I quote, having deserted from the headquarters of his regiment at Grahamstown on or about the 28th of September 1839, and not returning until brought back under escort on or about the 27th of June 1842, and secondly, of having at or about the period of his desertion, as stated in the final charge, made away with or lost through neglect the following articles of his regimental clothing, appointments and necessities.
He then listed the man's weapon, clothing and miscellaneous items including his mess tin, with the price carefully recorded by each item. The grand total came to £5, 17 shillings and 1.5 pence. Having cost the colony so much time, trouble and expense, and for breaching military discipline, Piet was to be transported as a felon for a term of 7 years, being kept at hard labour at Robben Island until passage could be found for him to be conveyed to Van Diemen's Land. As Wilde fixed his signature to the warrant, he well knew what the prisoner could expect. He himself had visited the island colony in 1824 to conduct a circuit court.